Hey guys, my name's Alex and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So I've been thinking a lot about time recently because I feel like the older you get, the more your relationship with time changes. Time obviously is pretty consistent, but I feel like as I get older, time seems to go faster and faster. Like my first year of college is like 7-ish weeks away from being over. I'm not exactly sure how that happened, but it did. And as time continues to become more fleeting, I can't help but realize how many things there are that I want to do that I just don't have the time to do. And so the first thing I wanted to talk about today is opportunity cost. Back when I was in high school, I feel like I didn't have a sprawling list of options of things to do every single day. My life was honestly pretty straightforward and simple. Like if I wasn't playing volleyball or at speech and debate or going to get food or hanging out with my friends, then I was playing League of Legends and watching anime. Like my life, I didn't have a lot of different options to choose from. But now that I'm in college, there are so many possible things that I could do at pretty much any given moment that anytime I decide to do anything, I am also actively deciding not to do like 7 other different things. Like I feel like there are always like 7 different social events going on. I could always be working more on my YouTube channel. I could always be reading more, or I could always just be doing homework. So every time I make a decision to do something, I am actively deciding not to do like 6 other things. So really broadly speaking, I think most of the things that I really want to do in a given day end up being in one of 4 categories: school, social life, sleep, and extracurriculars. But I feel like even if I was at like my peak productivity levels, firing on all cylinders, I would not be able to do them all. Like I just simply don't have the time. And because of that, I feel a constant sense of like loss every single time I do something. And I think that can end up being really straining. I understand that's like just a part of life, but I guess it's also just not something that I'm like super used to. And I don't really have a solution for this. I think I just wanted to talk about how much I think this sucks. I guess the only thing that you can really do is to try your best to consciously decide how you want to actively split up your time. And you want to be really aware of the active decisions you're making about what you're willing to give up and what you're not. And that is pretty much the only main takeaway I've had from opportunity cost, other than the fact that it sucks. The next thing I've been thinking about a lot is like the relationship between time and meaning. So I'm genuinely trying to work pretty hard this quarter and to dedicate myself to projects that I really care about. And I think that makes sense because if time is this finite thing, then it makes sense that we are going to put our time into the places that we most care about. I know that seems really obvious and I know it's really easy to say that, but for me, I think sometimes it's really easy to get lost in like the flow of responsibilities, like doing homework, eating meals, going to clubs, coming home and sleeping. Sometimes my days can just feel like they're being reduced to lines on a to-do list and I can forget why I'm doing the things that I'm doing. And like when I start to view my responsibilities like that, it just becomes way harder to actually find the energy and the motivation to get through the day and to do all of the things that I want to do. And so I always have to like remind myself that like the things I spend my time on are the things that I actively care about. I honestly have to remind myself that I want to work hard. And I know it's easier to just do the bare minimum and to just kind of get by, but that's not the type of life that I want. I have ambitions and realizing those ambitions matters to me, and it needs to, or else I'm never going to find the willpower to sacrifice other things in order to put in the work to realize my ambitions. It is always going to be easier and more gratifying in the short term to like play video games or hang out with friends or to just go out. So I have to remind myself that these things that I'm doing when I sit and edit videos or when I'm writing scripts or when I'm reading books, like these are things that I want to do. These are things that I know will help me realize my ambitions. So take a step back and realize that the things that you're spending your time on are the things that matter to you. The reason I'm spending time on like schoolwork and on YouTube and on reading is because I really value these things. And sometimes I think I forget that, and I like forget that there are real reasons why I want to be doing these things. So take a step back and remind yourself that you're spending time on these things because they matter to you. And if they don't matter to you, then what are you doing? So that's like one half of the relationship between time and meaning. But I think there's another side that I think is talked about a lot less. So we spend time on the things that matter to us, but also the things that we spend our time on become the things that matter to us. So earlier this quarter, I was trying to expand my social circle and make more friends and all of that. But it kind of dawned on me that like, I don't know how many close friends I could realistically have. When I think about my closest friends on campus, or like just the best friends that I've made over my entire life, they're always the friends that I've spent the most time with. Looking specifically at the friends I have on campus, part of the reason I feel so close to them is because I spend so much time with them. I feel like an active participant in their life, and I know about their daily life, either because I'm there with them to experience it, or because we make the time to talk about it. I still feel close with all of my gap year friends, despite the fact that we still don't see each other every day, because at one point we did spend a lot of time together. Like I spent weeks with these people, like where it was just us hanging out and going to see the world together. Like, as important as having similar values and having important interests are in friendships, I think another equally important thing is just time. Like, I think at some point, in order to truly just become really good friends with someone, you kind of just have to like put in the hours and spend a lot of time with them. The things in my life that I feel like I care the most about are also the things that I've just spent the most time on. Even looking at my favorite books or TV shows, a lot of my absolute favorites are rather long, or they're the things that I've just read or rewatched the most, or I've watched the most videos about them, or I've talked a lot about them. Like, How I Met Your Mother is one of my favorite shows of all time. I think it's like 9 seasons long, and each season is like 25 episodes, and I have watched this show front to back at least 3 times, and I've watched many just random episodes here or there. And like, do I think it's one of the most well-written shows with like one of the objectively best characters like out there? Kind of. But I can see that like my opinion is very clearly colored by the attachment I've built up with this show over a long period of time. And that attachment isn't like some objective marker of quality. It's how I feel about it and how much time I've spent with these characters to make them feel like they're my own friends, right? And I think this point specifically also is a good reminder for myself, because I feel like I am currently at a part in my life where I see a lot of people around me partying a lot. And there's no like social judgment there. Like, I'm by no means in any place to judge other people for partying or going out. And I can definitely feel the urge and desire, whether it's my like own innate desire or like, you know, social expectation, to like go out and like party and have fun and just have a really good time. But I think it's also important to remind myself, like, if I spend all of my time like screwing around or having fun or playing video games, like, those also become the things that matter to me, right? It's like I can't just give up a huge part of my life to these things and not have these things end up mattering to me. And when I think about that, I try to like take a step back and ask myself, like, is this something I want to put more time into? And do I want this to become a bigger and bigger part of my life? And there's nothing wrong with that. I think there's a perfectly reasonable case to be made that like college is a time for partying and to go out and just like have fun and like have very little responsibilities. But it's something I need to be aware about when I decide how I'm going to spend my time. So obviously you can't just spend a lot of time with something and then begin to like it. But also I can't disassociate the things that I really love and like with the time that I've spent with them. And yes, quality of time certainly matters, because there are plenty of people in my life that I spent a lot of time with that I just do not feel at all close with. But then there's also people that I'll spend like a week and a half with that I feel like I'm gonna be homies with this person for life. So I think both contribute to the other, and it's not like a one thing causes the other. I think it's like a circular thing. So now, knowing all of this about time, I'm like confronted with the problem of like, what the hell do I do with all of my time? Like, there's just so many things to do and not enough time to do them all. I guess what I'm really trying to say here is that no matter what you do, no matter what decision you make, you're always going to be giving something up. And none of the things that I've talked about today are like ways to decide what decisions you should or should not make. They're just the things I think you should keep in mind when you think about how you're going to spend your time. There are no right or wrong decisions. There are just the decisions that you want to make about what you value and what you want your life to look like and what you're willing to give up to get there. I think the only possible wrong answer is to not actively decide. Whatever my life ends up being, I always want to know that I was the one that actively made decisions about the type of life I wanted and the direction that I wanted to go. I feel like everything that happens after that, I can live with if I know that I made those decisions.